About 3600 years ago, in the late Bronze Age, a civilization known as Mycenaeans lived in what we now call today as Greece. These were early Indo-European people in that region, long before the classical Greek language or the temples existed. They wrote a script called Linear B, pressed onto clay tablets like what you're seeing on the screen, found in palaces like Pylos or Knossos. On these clay tablets, we find a name, Dewey, a sky deity recognized as divine authority from the heavens. This name appears in the context of organized rituals, offerings, and official cult activity.
So Dewey is one of the oldest and most significant deity some 3600 years ago in the Mycenaean Greek region of Europe. Cut to 800 BCE, during the time of early city-states, Greek was still forming its identity. In this age, Zeus emerged as a supreme sky god. Zeus appears in Homer's epics as the king of the gods, ruling with thunder and justice, much like how Indra is portrayed in Indian texts. Zeus wasn't worshipped in temples, he was invoked in legal oaths, guest rituals, and public ceremonies, so on and so forth. Known by many names like Olympios, Xenios, or Horkios, he was honored in multiple roles, similar to how Indian deities have various forms and titles in different contexts. If you're someone who is interested in this space of ancient Indo-European culture and relations, people associate Zeus with Indra. That is fundamentally incorrect, and it's a very big misconception that Zeus is a form of Indra. As we proceed next into this video, you'll discover why I'm saying that. Around 500 BC, the Romans began worshipping Jupiter as their chief god, a transformation of the Greek Zeus, both tracing back to the ancient sky deity Deu. Jupiter came to represent Roman power, war, and law, and was worshipped with other deities of the Roman times, Juno and Minerva on the Capitoline Hill in Rome. Eventually, the largest and the brightest planet visible from Earth was named Jupiter, honoring his status as the king of the gods. Now let's go back again 3200 years ago to a different part of Europe. Deipatros was the sky god of the ancient Illyrians, an Indo-European people lived in the Western Balkans between 1200 and 550 BC. He ruled over the heavens and cosmic order much like Zeus or Jupiter in later cultures. Deipatros embodied supreme paternal authority and was closely linked with thunder, storms, justice, and divine sovereignty. Traits and epithets often seen in chief gods across Indo-European traditions with the names Zeus, Deipatros, or Jupiter, or Deu. You can see it coming already. Another culture, another part of Europe, 1000 BC. Devas was the celestial father in the ancient Baltic tradition, worshipped in Latvia and Lithuania from around 1000 BC until the Christianization in the 1200s. Unlike Zeus or Jupiter, Devas was distant, passive ruler linked to light, order, and cosmic balance. Linguistically, Devas is a direct descendant of the Proto-Indo-European sky god Zeus, preserving some of the oldest traits of that ancient divine figure. I can go on, the list is long. Many parts of ancient European traditions in the last 3000 to 3500 years worshipped this deity called Zeus. Now, who is this deity? Here I compiled a short list of all the deities that were worshipped across Europe and India over the last 3500 years and even more with the name Dyaus-Pitar. Dyaus-Pitar of the Rig Veda, or Zeus of the ancient Greek civilization, or Jupiter of the Roman civilization, or Deipatros of the Balkans and Baltics. It's all one and the same. And till here you can find the information on internet as well. So that's the reason I did not do deep dive onto this topic, because you can freely find the information about a common deity being worshipped across India and Europe. But from now on, unless one takes time and interest to dig into the ancient Hindu scriptures and try to find out who this deity really is, you will not find this information online. You have to take time to dig into the scriptures, and that's what we're going to do in the next couple of minutes. It's going to get very interesting. Hang tight. In Sanatana Dharma, there is this concept of ancestor veneration in the name of Pitru Devata. Pitru Devatas, naturally what rings to the mind is our ancestors, the departed ancestors, right? Well, it's not completely wrong, but at the same time, it's not complete, I would say. Because Pitru Devatas are not directly the departed ancestors. Rather, it's a pantheon of few Vedic deities. Vasu, Rudra, and Aditya. These are the three groups of deities put together called as Pitru Devata. But then what's the connection with the ancestors? We'll understand that in a couple of minutes. So Pitru Devatas are Vasus, Adityas and Rudras, and there are 8 Vasus, 12 Adityas and 11 Rudras. What's there to do with the number? Here it is. The 8 Vasus are the elemental deities representing the aspects of nature and cosmos, who are the material, which is sky, earth, wind, fire, stars, water, sun, moon. Here, one Vasu is called as Dyaus. You can see it coming already. Dyaus is a Pitru Devata. Hence, Dyaus Pitar, Jupiter, Zeus. You see how it's falling in place? So basically, one of the Pitru Devatas is Dyaus Pitra. That's the reason the epithet Pitra is suffixed to the name Dyaus. So 8 Vasus represent the elemental deities of the nature, and then 12 Adityas, they represent the personification of the sun's positions in the 12 months of an year. Like March to April, the sun is called as Dhata, April to May is Aryaman, and then May to June is Mitra, Varuna, Indra, Vivaswan, Pusha, Parjanya, Amshuman, Bhaga, Twastar, and finally Vishnu in the times of February to March. So those are the 12 Adityas. And then 11 Rudras, they represent the forces of life and are linked to both destructive and healing aspects like Kalpa, Vamadeva, Bhava, Satyojata, Kapali, so on and so forth. So our focus is only on the Vasus, especially on the sky deity called as Dyaus or Dyaus Pitra. This is a Rig Vedic deity being worshipped in Bharat well over thousands and thousands of years. So if our departed ancestors are also called as Pitru Devatas, and then we have, as per the Rig Vedic and other Vedic traditions, we have the 8 Vasus and 12 Adityas and Rudras as Pitru Devatas, how does these two fit together? Well, this is actually the philosophy behind that. Our biological ancestors, our great-grandfathers and great-grandmothers, who left this mortal body, got absorbed into the nature, into the elements of nature. So physically, they are reflected in the elements of nature. That is the reason, even though we memorize them, from a veneration point of view, we worship the 8 elements of nature, the 12 positions of the sun, and 11 Rudras, which are the elements of human life. So 8 plus 12 plus 11, 31 deities put together, we revere on Pitru Paksha, under whom our biological ancestors are also worshipped. This is the complete picture of Pitru Paksha. And for those of you who are not aware, Pitru Paksha is a 16-day period for honoring ancestors through rituals, prayers, and offerings. It generally comes before Diwali. And just one quick side note, the 8 plus 12 plus 11, 31 deities, and then there are 2 Ashwini Devatas, put together 33. So there are only 33 deities, and there are no 33 million deities. That's where this 33 comes from, directly from the Rig Veda. So let's go back to our focus point. The 8 Vasus, like I said, they represent the elemental deities in the nature and cosmos, and Dyaus Pitra is the deity of our interest. The Vedic deity Dyaus Pitra, who represents the divination of sky. It's a kind of an anthropomorphic deity, so to speak. So this deity Dyaus Pitra is the same deity that the ancient Greeks some 3,500 years ago, and the Romans, and by extension many cultures in the ancient Europe, worshipped as Jupiter or Zeus or Diopatros or Dew. It's all one and the same. Now, couple of things to unpack here. Number one, by no stretch of imagination I'm saying that ancient Europeans were worshipping or following the Hindu culture. Absolutely not. There are striking similarities in the culture, linguistically, philosophically, and culturally as well. And second thing, there are many cultures who worshipped rain, trees, mountains, sun, moon, pretty much everything. All the indigenous cultures worship parts of nature. That does not mean they are all connected. Second thing, if the ancient Vedic traditions and ancient European traditions were similar to a certain extent, does it mean that the Vedas were brought to Bharat by people from Europe or somewhere from Central Asia? Well, if I am a blind believer of Max Muller and all the garbage that he has written, and if I don't use my common sense, then I might say that. But if I have any iota of common sense and put my own reading, research and analysis to action, it's quite simple. Those cultures were lost completely. They cannot explain what's the actual philosophy or the culture or the practices behind Dyaus Pitra. But here in Bharat, we can explain where this deity comes from, what has been the culture, and even today we worship Dyaus Pitra before Diwali along with other Pitru Devatas. That should explain this senseless and baseless Aryan Dravidian theory, which of course unfortunately many people blindly believe. That's a different story. Now comes an even more interesting finding about Dyaus Pitra. He is none other than Bhishma of Mahabharata, and this we will get to know only if we take time and patience to read through the depth of Mahabharata. This would be a fantastic learning. Let's see how Dyaus Pitra became Bhishma. In Mahabharatam, part of Adi Parvam, and further down in Adi Parvam, there is a chapter called Sambhava Parvam, where the birth of Bhishmacharya is explained. In that, the before life of Bhishmacharya was, he was one of the 8 Vasus, none other than Dyaus. So Dyaus Pitra, along with the 7 other Pitru Devatas, gets cursed by Vasistha Maharshi that all of them should take the incarnation of a mortal human being. And all these 8 Vasus were born to Ma Ganga and Shantanu Maharaja as their children. And Ma Ganga kills 7 of them to redeem them from their curse. And the 8th one is Dyaus or Dyaus Pitra. As you can see, the first line, these are the words of Vasistha Maharshi. Dyaus tadha manushe loke dirghakalam swakarmana. Dyaus will take the incarnation of a human because of his karma. Bhavishyati cha dharmatma sarva shastra visharadaha. And he excels in many fields of knowledge and he will be an embodiment of dharma. Who? Dyaus Pitra, after taking the incarnation of Bhishmacharya. That's how the future would be, as predicted by and cursed by Vasistha Maharshi, which eventually turned out to be a blessing because Bhishmacharya is the kingpin for the entire Mahabharatam, teaching many dharmic lessons across Mahabharatam. The entire Shanti Parvam and Anushasanika Parvam, both were the words of Bhishmacharya on what's dharma. So here I gave the exact pinpointed reference of where in Mahabharatam you can find this narrative of Dyaus Pitra taking the incarnation of Bhishmacharya. Mahabharatam Adiparvam 99th Adhyayam from 38 till 42nd slokas. That's where you could precisely find the birth of Dyaus Pitru or Jupiter or Zeus, whatever the Indo-Europeans called then or worshipped, was born as Bhishmacharya in Mahabharatam. So to conclude, across the vast tapestry of the ancient Indo-European civilization, one name echoes through time, the Sky Father. Whether you call him as Dyaus Pitra as per the Vedic traditions, or Zeus as per the ancient Greek traditions, or Jupiter or Devapatros by the Mycenaeans, it was all the same divine presence that the ancient Indo-Europeans revered across lands and languages. He was the thunder wielder, the daylight bringer, the celestial patriarch above all. Cultures changed, myths evolved, but the core archetype of the radiant sky god endured. It's not just mythology, it's shared memory across continents. It is living and thriving culture in Bharat even today with the worship of Dyaus Pitru as part of the Pitru Paksha. Or whenever people recite Vishnu Sahasranamam given by Bhishmacharya or Dyaus Pitru. The culture and the memory of Dyaus Pitru is living and thriving in Bharat and unfortunately became an artifact in museums or the destroyed temples across Europe. And here, let's journey through some of the last standing ancient temples where this forgotten deity Dyaus Pitru in his many names still lingers in stone, whispering the legacy of once united divine idea of the ancient Indo-Europeans. Before we move to the remaining temples of Dyaus Pitra across Europe and Asia, just one quick announcement. This is not an endorsement. As you might know, I never do any commercial endorsements on Project Shivoham. This is a personal request. It's a new channel that I established called Sensei, where I'd be posting short videos on the AI and related technologies, trying to explain, break down the tech, make it simple for everyone to understand and grasp. So if you feel it's relevant for you and I'm talking sense, please do subscribe for Sensei. I never asked this for Project Shivoham because I'm doing this out of my passion, so it doesn't really matter how many views or subscribers that I get on Project Shivoham. I just keep on doing because that's more of my passion. But Sensei is more from my professional interest point of view, so if it's of interest for you, please do subscribe and that will help me a lot. I'll leave the link to the Sensei YouTube channel and the Instagram as well in the description or in the pinned comment below. And with that said, please continue the rest of the video of the remaining temples of Dyaus Pitra across Europe and Asia, a few of them. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.